The big green dinosaur known as Yoshi has finally dropped a patch for Deadlock. It's currently May 21st, and we're going to be looking exactly at what the patch entails and talking about everything you need to know. And if you're wondering, why should I be watching this random guy on the internet when there's other people? Well, I'm a former analyst or coach for Marvel Rivals, and I do a lot of analyst work and just theory crafting on Deadlock, so might as well check me out. And if you like Deadlock and or Marvel Rivals content, definitely check out this channel. This is definitely a good spot for learning. But anyways, let's dive straight in. Now, just like always, the link to the patch notes will be either in the description or in the pinned message. All right, Yoshi finally delivered and we got the patch notes. Like I said, the links will be in the description or in the pinned comments, like always. So first major things we're looking at is that the base HP reduced by 10 for all heroes, and the HP per boon was reduced by 3, which is a pretty big change. So characters like Warden is going to be getting affected quite a lot. So Guardian's scaling resistance from plus 75% to 50% over 12 minutes to plus 50% to 50%. Takes more damage early. Medium neutrals initially spawn time reduced from 6 to 5 minutes. That's pretty big. Breakable spawn time increased from 2 to 3. That is actually a pretty big change. So that means in lane, the only things that are going to be happening is the tier 1 minion camp or the tier 1 jungle camp, which is pretty big. Shrines are now invulnerable until one pair of base guardians are destroyed. Backdoor removal linger duration reduced from 20 seconds to 14. This is what I wanted. This is essentially killing Wallbreaker Victor, and it's also killing anything that might be coming from it, like Infernus or McGinnis. So this playstyle is now it's a lot harder now, which is a good thing. Knockup durations are now affected by debuff reduction. Interesting. Remove 2 jump packs from around the middle of the map that point to outwards to left and right respectively. Sliding no longer resets sprint speed. Interesting. Stamina regeneration is now reduced by 25% for 5 seconds after using a wall jump. This is not true. This is actually a really big patch. Bullet velocity now stacks additively rather than diminishingly. Okay, that's good. Medic trooper heal duration increased from 2 to 4 seconds. Same overall heal amount. When receiving multiple of the medic trooper orb, the duration will now be added on top rather than stacking directly. So picking up 4 in a row will give you the regen over 16 seconds instead of 4. It was just the same, just slower. Medic trooper heal increase from 12% missing to 13. That's pretty good. Base Guardian bullet resist 10 to 20. Shrine bullet resist 10 to 20. Tier 2 bullet resist from 25 to 35. That's cool. Mid boss now starts spawned at the beginning of the game. That is an interesting change, I'm not going to lie. Huh. Total damage reduction debuffs now stacked diminishing rather than actively. Okay. Move speed diminished point from 11 to 12. Okay. Weapon investment bonus now has a 6.4k line change from 4.8, 7.2, and so on to 4.8, 6.4, 8k with the bonuses from 46, then 46, 54, 62, 74, 86. So weapon is getting buffed again towards the late game. It's not a huge change, but it is a slight change. Vitality got the same change as well, but it's just final 2 tiers shifted up by +4. So I got the same change, but +4. 8, 48, 38, 45, 52, 59, 66. So you're scaling at L1.2 is bigger. Interesting. And then they fixed the following abilities, taking you out of zoom temporarily when cast. So as listed, you can see all of them. If you cannot work through veils, you can see all of these. Soul Urn. We're experimenting with an alternative set of urn mechanics. Please give us your thoughts on this after you've played with it some. Primary, to pick up the urn rather than sitting in place to channel, you now light or heavy melee urn to pick it up. Interesting. The urn now is always dropped off on top of the bridge on the middle of the map. Wait, what? So I guess it's supposed to be like a more even fight, essentially. Interesting. The favored team will get a plus 50% bullet and spear resist in a 60-meter radius around the urn while it's being carried, dropped, or deposited. That's pretty insane to me. This is huge. This is a huge change to the urn. I misclicked. But yeah, that's actually crazy. After 35 seconds, every time held per team, the carrier will start taking 5% max HP damage per second. Previously was 45, and 0.15% max HP, so 5%. Urn damage is lethal, like before when the urn is fumbled. Seconds. However, afterwards, with this new version, it can no longer be picked up anymore and will very quickly run back to its spawn, but no longer silence you while carrying. You are still disarmed and a movement silence, so that's cool. No longer grants plus 30% bullet and spirit resist while carrying. And urn is revealed. Urn is also revealed as usual. The rules of their urn are the same. Okay. Souls are all instant after the deposit is complete. All rewards are the same. The last person against the urn gives a plus 3 golden buffs. So basically, the urn's the same, but they're changing where it spawns, which we will be checking in game. Okay, just want to quickly show the urn. So you have this urn thing in the middle now, which is pretty interesting. And if I come all the way over here, I have the quick melee, start carrying it, and I take it to the middle. What? I'm here. Okay, but that's interesting. So it's trying to prioritize more mid fights now. So instead of like having your side laners be in mid lane, there wasn't really a lot to do besides just generally fighting. Your side lanes gets pushed on, and usually the mid lane is where a lot of the commotion or fighting happens. So this is another incentive to fight in the mid lane. So continuing on, we got a whole bunch of changes. So looking at it for our weapon items, restorative shot was buffed. NPC healing increased from 15 to 20. Melee charge was also buffed. The cooldown reduced from 7 to 5. Active reload also buffed. Lifesteal increased from 14 to 16. Weakening headshot also buffed. Works on NPCs. Fleet Foot got 2 buffs. It grants plus 6% weapon damage, which is quite a lot. And it also active slow resistance increased from 35 to 40. Mystic Shot, Tesla, Alchemic Fire, Ballistic, Weighted, Shadow Weave, Escalating Resilience, Heroic Aura, Sharpshooter, Hunter's Aura, Cultist, Capacitor, Crushing Fist, Frenzy, Crippling Headshot, Spiritual Overflow, and Glass Cannon. All of this was buffed. And as you can see all the numbers here, like so. But on the flip side, so there were some nerfs. So one of the nerfs is opening rounds. The spirit power was reduced from +7 to +4. Slowing bullets, dash distance slow reduced from -25% to -22. Charging rush cooldown increased from 24 seconds to 25. Weighted shots, dash distance slow reduced from 25 to -22. Sharpshooter, long range weapons, damage reduced from 70% to 60. Toxic bullets no longer builds up from melee attacks, which is, I mean, a pretty big change in my eyes. Spiritual Overflow, Spirit Lifesteal reduced from 16 to 13. And Silencer, the Spirit Resistance reduced from 15 to -12. Spell Slinger, cooldown reduction reduced from 6% to 5. And then we see some other changes where are mixed or reworked, where Ballistic Enchantment now upgrades from Mystic Expansion. Sharpshooter reworked component path plus stat redistribution, and Spiritual Overflow shifted power from active effective into innate stats while lowering total lifesteal. It says this is a component of Mystic Expansion, which is actually quite interesting to me. That's pretty cool, because there isn't a lot of items that build into one category or a different one, but now you have the option to build into different things. So they're doing like cross itemization, which is pretty cool. So there's a new noise with Urn too when it spawns. Huh. And look, see the little Urn thing. So moving on, we come to our vitality. So first and foremost, healing rate, extra regen, debuff reducer, return fire, healing booster, reactive barrier, spirit shielding, weapon shielding, guardian ward, lifesteal, majestic leap, Veilwalker, Juggernaut, Indomitable, Spellbreaker, Witchmill, Unstoppable Infuser, Vampiric Burst, and Leech were all buffed. So that's some pretty things. So with the healing rate, spirit scaling increased. Regen reduced from, or sorry, extra regen, out of combat regen increased from 1 to 1.5. So you can see this is a buff here. But the other part is a nerf. I don't know why it keeps closing. It's so annoying. Debuff reducer was buffed. Now grants 90 HP. Return fire duration increased from 6 to 6.5. Healing booster fixed abilities. Reactive barrier now grants +1 out of combat regen. Spirit shielding proc now grants plus 18% spirit resistance for 8 seconds. Weapon shielding proc now grants plus 18% bullet resistance for 8 seconds, which is pretty big. Guardian ward barrier increased from 200 to 250. It also gets you 1.5 out of combat regen. Bullet lifesteal grants plus 6% weapon damage, which is pretty crazy. Battle Vest weapon damage increased from 15 to 18, so it looks like Battle Vest is going to be another item we're going to be wanting to prioritize again. Spirit Lifesteal was increased from +70 to 80. Active duration of Fury Trance was increased from 6 to 6.5. You gain +6% weapon damage now. Fire rate increased from 30 to 35, or 32, sorry. Majestic Leap now grants plus 50% air control during barrier, which is pretty cool. Barrier boon scaling from 8 to 12, which is good. Fortitude move speed increased from 1.25 to 1.5, which is pretty significant in my eyes. Veil Walker heal per boon increased from 6 to 8, so Veil Walker is going to be a really nice buy, even more so than what it was. Juggernaut fire rate reduction increased from -36 to -40. Juggernaut move speed bonus increased from +2 meters to 2.5. Spellbreaker now grants +90, and Domino Barrier scaling from 1.8 to 2. And Domino now has +2 out of combat regen. Bullet resist was increased to 10. Spirit resist increased to 10. And it looks like you want to be buying Indomitable now. Witchmail. Spirit resist increased from 20 to 22. Unstoppable cooldown reduction from 65 to 60. Infuser duration increased from 6 to 7. Infuser gained +6 spirit power. Vampiric burst duration increased from 4.5 to 5. Vampiric burst now grants +6% weapon power. And then some of the items that were nerfed in the Vitality were things like extra regen, because they do like a compensation. Even though it did get buffed, the regen reduced from 3 to 2.5. Rebuttal, the parry cooldown reduction reduced from -2 to 1.75. Restorative Locket no longer has minimum 1 stamina restored. It has a max stamina restored, reduced from 4 to 3. So it really looks like you don't want to be buying it really anymore. Unless you're really playing the mobile characters, then that's that. Spirit Shielding no longer grants 1.75 move speed. Weapon Shielding, the same case. Guardian Ward cooldown increased from 45 to a minute, 45 seconds to a minute, which is pretty big. Dispel got a 5-second increase in the cooldown. And Counter Spirit Power reduced from +8 to +5. And then for your mixed or reworked, you have like Spirit Shielding and Weapon Shielding. They both lost movement speed but gained temporary spirit resistance. Guardian Ward, stronger barrier regen but significantly longer cooldown. And Leech adjusted to align with updated component sets rather than a direct buff or nerf overall, which is pretty significant. Then let's go ahead and look at our spirit stuff, shall we? Yeah, like I said, there's a new item. So you pop it and you get +1. Or you get a shield, a 200 HP shield. I guess that's cool. I don't know why you would take this though. I mean, it builds into reactive, and then reactive builds into the Indomitable, so you get 2 Indomitable faster. It also builds into spirit shielding. Now there's a lot of yapping, but what can you expect? It's a patch notes video. So for your buffed items, it's things like Golden Goose Egg. So the permanent buff now gained every 80 souls instead of 100, so they're buffing Egg again. Mystic Regen, Rusted Barrel. A lot of these items were pretty much buffed. You could just tell by looking at them. But I do want to just talk about the things that got nerfed out of this entire list. And that is Cold Front, Bullet Resist Shredder, and Arctic Blast. So these 3. Cold Front, radius reduced from 12 meters to 10. Bullet Resist Shredder no longer grants +65 bonus health. Arctic Blast no longer provides 15% damage amplification. So basically, for Cold Front, it's a smaller radius, but vertical damage height increased from 5 meters to 7. So you can hit people above you and below you better now. Bullet Resist Shredder lost bonus HP, but gained more bullet resist and weapon damage, which is still fine. So on Mina, like a character like Mina, you would probably buy extra health like what you've been doing already. Arctic Blast lost damage amp, but gained a larger radius, better vertical coverage, longer immobilize, and stamina regen freeze effects, which is pretty big. So overall, some pretty decent and sizable changes. Again, a lot of the changes they do is just tweaking numbers here and there, but those small numbers do change a lot, which is a lot to talk about. And like I said, I will have the link because it's like, I don't want to sit here and saying, oh, reduce from 12 meters to 10, 5 meters to 7, because these are just compensations, buffing this but nerfing that. So it's just easier to kind of just talk about like the main bullet point. Okay, so from what I see, it's like, okay, so for Abrams and Infernal Resilience Tier 1 changed from 1.5 to health regen to plus 200 max health, which is a good change, I would say. It's not bad. Infernal Resilience Tier 2 now grants plus 80% melee lifesteal and 40% effective versus non-heroes. Seismic Impact Tier 2 stun duration increased from 0.7 to 0.8. And Seismic Impact Tier 3 unstoppable duration increased from 5 to 6 seconds. So a pretty big change in my eyes. Overall, pretty good. Apollo improved the hero's hitboxes, so it's easier to hit. Base regen reduced from 2 to 1, which is nice. Riposte no longer automatically dashes. It now grants you a sub ability immediately to target the hero you want to jump to for a brief second. Wait, what? So with Apollo, you can see you now have like a thing you can press to, so if you're taking damage, you can lunge through somebody, which is, I guess, it's a nice change. I'm glad they did it. Something that was definitely needed, so it's not a super strong ability, I would say. So overall, solid change. So going back, Riposte no longer triggers on ores like Flame Dash, no longer triggers off of objective damage, and Flawless hitbox reduced by 10%, which is very, very nice. So for Bebop, the bullet damage per boon reduced from 0.139 to 0.15. Spotting uppercut tier 2 weapon damage reduced from plus 40 to plus 30. Sticky bomb tier 2 increased from plus 75 to plus 85. Good. Pretty solid. Moving on to Billy, health per boon increased from 48 to 49, so probably good. Bullet damage per boon reduced from 1.65 to 1.4, so a slight nerf to his gun. Rising Ram cooldown increased, so nerf to Rising Ram. Increased from plus 3 duration to plus 4, so buff. Minus 15. Okay, so nerf. Alright, interesting. Calico, Boom Bomb Tier 2 changed from plus 75 damage to barriers to minus 5% melee resist for 5 seconds per bomb stacks. Interesting. Celeste improved the hero's hitbox. Good. Stamina cooldown increased from 4.5 to 5. Good. Radiant Daggers. Okay. Shining Wonder Tier 2 increased from plus 50 damage to plus 70. Good. Doorman. Callbell radius reduced from 6 meters to 5.5. Tier 3 radius increased from 4 meters to 4.5. Callbell exposure and damage scaling reduced from 1.4. Okay. No longer diminishes from 100% to 0 over 1 second. The rest of the debuff is 4. Callbell and accuracy debuff. Doorway closes. Doorway is no longer unsilenceable. Tier 3 Ren now also deals heavy melee damage. That's good. Dynamo Kinetic Pulse Tier 2 reduced from -8 to -15. Reduced from 1.6 to 1.5. Quantum Entanglement Tier 3 changed from dispelling non-ult debuffs to reducing the duration of non-ults. So the same thing with Victor's Max 2, which is a pretty massive change for Dynamo, I would say. This is pretty significant because if you have a teammate on 1 HP and they're dying to decay or whatever, you can't save them. Interesting. Graves got a ton of changes. Sprint speed increase. Now Spencer Ghoul base. Spencer Ghoul in the base ability still increases by 1, so it's back to the two ghouls. Deadheads, okay. Be applied to their next attack, okay. Okay. Okay, so overall, like a buff. For the most part, a buff to Graves, but then they, at the bottom, they did bullet damage and growth reduced by 10%. So it's like, you want to build her, I guess, Spirit again? Because this is pretty big, I would say. Okay. Bro, I did it again. I'm so sorry. Great Talon. Rain of Arrows cooldown reduced from 30 to 22. Rain of Arrows cast delay reduced from 0.5 to 0.2. Rain of Arrows duration reduced from 7 to 4. Rain of Arrows moving ability in air improves. Rain of Arrows stamina distance changed from -9 to +25. Rain of Arrows weapon damage boost. Oh. Yeah, that's just not good for him. Like, you don't want to play this character gun at all, is what it's telling me. At all. Like, oh, dude! Like, even more so than what you wanted to do. Haze, fixation increase from 0.12 to 0.14. Holiday, base bullet damage increase from 18.8 to 19.7. So, a nice buff to Holiday. Furnace, bullet size increase from 3 to 4. Concussive combustion tier 3 increase from 0.75 seconds stun to 0.9. That's a pretty significant change. Frost grenade spirit reduced. So an ice path no longer creates an ice path below him and instead lets him fall to the ground. Okay. Crit scaling. So they nerfed Beam Kelvin. Okay. Good. Lash bullet damage. So they nerfed Gun Lash semi. For meter scaling increase from ground strike. So they buffed ground strike. So spirit lash is probably good again. Tier 3 grapple also grants some +1 charge. Good. Beginner's gun is good again. Medicinal Spectre radius increase from 5.5 to 6. Mina, innate -8% debuff resist. Fixed rate sometimes not working with high ping. Left bites, tier 3 increase from -4 to -5. No longer applies the flat on-hit damage to abilities. It was doing 20% of its value on Nox Nostra. Nox Nostra tier 3 reduced from 1% current health to 0.5. Interesting. Updated Jin Sparks visuals. Well, that was it for Mina, but okay. Paige or Mo. Getting hit with a melee no longer knocks you up when you're burrowed. Sandblast tier 3 increase from 1 to 1.5. Rallying charge tier 3 increase from 135 to 160. Wow. Time wall duration increased. 2. So a big sizable buff to Pardox. A very nice buff to Pardox. Very big buff. Pocket, flying cloak, tier 2 weapon damage duration reduced from 8 to 6. Affliction cooldown increased from 140 to 150. I feel like it was at 150, then they brought it down, then they brought it back up. So, good. Okay. Wait. Holy. Insane buff to Rem. Insane buff. This is insane. You can cast through veils. You heal increase missing HP. Barrier in the item duration range effectiveness was increased. Tag along lingering heal duration reduced, but that's whatever. Tag along burst heal now also applies to secondary allies. Pillow toss damage was increased. Nap time provides plus 30% damage reduction in the base ability, and it still adds plus 50. That's insane. Good. 7 bullet damage growth reduced. Crit increase from crit reduction increased. Okay. It's whatever. Shiv, slice and dice reduced from -8 to -6. For damage cleared reduction from 40 to 30. So they nerf Shiv, but like, I don't know if it really does anything because the character is just broken beyond belief. But we shall see. Silver, bullet cycle time reduced from 0.9 to 0.8. Overall DPS stays the same. Okay. And tailing a bullet no longer prevents you from jumping on mansling. That's fine. That's good. I mean, nothing really crazy to her kit. She still does a ton of damage. Victor, bullet damage reduction. Oh, sorry, Venator. Health increase from 7 to 830. Okay, it's whatever. I think Venator is still like the best M1 carry besides the Viper. Victor, bullet damage reduction. Okay. Bullet damage reduction. 12 to 0.26. Jumpstart tier 3 spirit scaling increase from 0.6 to 0.9. Or suffering now does 50% damage to objectives. Wait, what? Okay, we have to see this in game. Viscous Puddle Punch tier 1 now also increases damage by 20. Puddle Punch no longer increases damage by 30. Puddle Punch experience plus 40% lifesteal. That's pretty nice. Then Viper, Dagger tier 2 bullet resist per stack from -5 to -6. Tier 2 now also increases max stacks by 2. Interesting. They nerfed Gun Warden, or this is Gun. Okay. Yamato, Power Slash reduced from 0.4 to 0.2. Spirit scaling increased from 1.8 to 2.1. That's pretty big. Big Yamato buff. Really big Yamato buff. That's really all the changes. So some of the characters I'm really concerned, like I'm looking at, is like the grave stuff. The Talon stuff is not really that important. I clicked it again. Talon stuff is not that big when you look at it. But overall, about the patch, I do like a lot of the changes. I think some of the most notable changes are the ones that you have to destroy the base guardian so that you can actually take the shrines, which honestly is probably for the better. Like I said, I can't wait to try all these changes in the game, so definitely check out my videos coming up. But yeah, hopefully you found this video helpful in any way, shape, or form. Maybe you find yourself coming back to the channel and you want to subscribe, might as well. But anyways, I hope you have a great and safe day, and I'll catch you in the next one.